Emma sat in the crowded train station, staring at her phone. The message from her brother still glowed on the screen. "Gran is asking for you. Please come home." She had not spoken to her grandmother in 3 years, not since the big fight about Emma's choice to leave their small village for the busy city life. The evening train to Willowbrook was packed. Business people rushed past her, talking loudly on their phones. Young couples left together. Families with tired children searched for seats. Emma's hands shook as she held her ticket. The last time she had taken this train, she was 25 and full of dreams. She had just gotten her job at the big law firm in London. Her future seemed bright and endless. But Gran had not been happy. "You are forgetting where you come from," Gran had said. "This family, this village, we mean nothing to you now." Those words had cut deep. Emma loved her grandmother more than anyone in the world. Gran had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when Emma was just 8 years old. Gran had worked double shifts at the local bakery to pay for Emma's school books and university fees, but Emma had felt trapped in their small village. She wanted to see the world, to use her education, to become someone important. Was that so wrong? The fight had been terrible, voices raised, doors slamming, tears falling. Emma had left the next morning without saying goodbye. She told herself she would call soon, maybe visit for Christmas. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. Pride kept her away. Hurt feelings built walls between them. Emma convinced herself that Gran did not want to hear from her anyway. Now, walking toward the train, Emma felt like that scared 8-year-old girl again. The girl who had cried herself to sleep for months after losing her parents. The girl who had clung to Gran's hand during those dark early days. She climbed aboard the train and walked down the narrow aisle. Her heart felt heavy with regret and fear. Every seat was taken except one, next to an elderly woman with silver hair, who sat quietly by the window. The woman looked to be around Gran's age, maybe 75. She wore a simple blue cardigan and had kind eyes that reminded Emma of her grandmother's. "Excuse me, is this seat free?" Emma asked softly. The woman looked up with gentle blue eyes. "Of course, dear, please sit." Emma placed her bag on the floor and settled into the seat. She pulled out her headphones, hoping to avoid conversation. She did not feel ready to talk to anyone, especially someone who reminded her so much of Gran. The woman beside her was writing in a small, worn notebook. Her handwriting was neat and careful, like a teacher's writing. Emma found herself watching the woman's hands as they moved across the page. They were gentle hands, hands that had probably comforted many people over the years. The train began to move, leaving the bright city lights behind. Emma stared out the window as darkness fell over the countryside. She tried to focus on her music, but her mind kept wandering to her grandmother. She remembered Sunday afternoons in Gran's kitchen, learning to bake bread. Gran's patient voice teaching her to knead the dough just right, gentle but firm. Emma, like love itself, she remembered winter evenings by the fire. Gran reading stories aloud while Emma did her homework. Gran always made time for her, no matter how tired she was from work. 3 years ago, Gran had said harsh words. "You think the city will make you happy. You think money is more important than family." Emma had been hurt and angry. She had worked so hard to get her job at the law firm. Why could Gran not understand? Why could she not be proud of Emma's success? "I am not choosing money over family," Emma had shouted back. "I am choosing my life over staying trapped in this place forever." Trapped, Gran's voice had broken. "Is that how you see our life together? As a trap?" Now Emma understood that Gran had not meant to hurt her. Gran was afraid. afraid of losing the only family she had left, afraid of being alone in her old age. But back then, Emma had been too proud and too hurt to see past her own anger. Now Gran was sick, maybe dying, and Emma felt scared and alone. The woman next to her closed a notebook and looked out the window. She hummed a gentle tune that somehow made Emma feel calmer. It was an old song, one that Gran used to sing while doing dishes. Beautiful night, the woman said quietly. Emma nodded, removing one headphone. Despite her walls, something about this stranger felt safe. The woman had a peaceful presence that reminded Emma of home. Outside the window, the countryside rolled by in darkness. Small villages with warm lights in windows, church spires reaching toward the stars, fields and forests that had watched over this land for hundreds of years. Emma realized she had missed this. The peace of the countryside, the feeling of belonging. Somewhere, in London, she was successful but often lonely. She had friends and colleagues, but no one who really knew her heart. As the train moved through the night toward home, Emma wondered if it was too late to make things right with Gran. 3 years was a long time. Would Gran forgive her? Would they be able to find their way back to each other? The gentle woman beside her continued humming softly, and Emma felt a small spark of hope beginning to grow in her heart. An hour into the journey, Emma's laptop battery died. She had planned to work during the trip. To distract herself from thinking about Gran, she stared at the black screen with frustration. Work had become her escape from difficult feelings. Numbers and contracts were easier to deal with than emotions. The elderly woman noticed Emma's frustration. Technology has a way of knowing when we need a break, she said with a kind smile. Emma looked at the woman more carefully now. Her face had gentle lines that spoke of many years of smiling. Her eyes held warmth and wisdom. There was something familiar about her, though Emma was sure they had never met. I suppose, Emma replied, closing the laptop with a sigh. I am Margaret, the woman said. But everyone calls me Maggie. Emma. Emma felt awkward without her laptop. To hide behind, in London, she was always busy, always working, always moving toward the next goal. Sitting still and talking to strangers was not something she did anymore. Maggie reached into her bag and pulled out a thermos. Would you like some tea? It is chamomile, very calming. The thermos looked old but well cared for. It reminded Emma of the one Gran used to take on their picnics when Emma was small. They would sit by the river and share sandwiches and tea, talking about everything and nothing. Emma accepted the cup gratefully. The tea was warm and soothing. It tasted like home, like comfort, like being loved. She had forgotten how good a simple cup of tea could be. Outside, the train passed through small villages with cozy lights in windows. Emma could see families sitting round dinner tables, children playing in gardens, elderly couples walking their dogs, life moving at a gentler pace than the rush of the city. I used to live in a place like that, Maggie said, pointing to a village that looked like a picture from a storybook. White cottages with red roofs, a small church with a bell tower, gardens full of flowers even in the fading light. It looks peaceful, Emma said. Taught at the primary school for 40 years. Every child in town passed through my classroom. Maggie's voice held deep affection. Little ones coming in scared on their first day, leaving as confident young people, ready for secondary school. Emma tried to imagine spending 40 years in one place, with one job, watching generations grow up. In her world, people changed jobs every few years, always climbing higher, always seeking more money and status. That must have been rewarding, Emma said. Oh yes. Children teach you as much as you teach them. They show you what really matters. Maggie looked at Emma with knowing eyes. Her gaze seemed to see right through Emma's business suit and confident exterior to the hurt and scared person underneath. "What do you mean?" Emma asked. "Children live in the present moment. They love freely. They forgive quickly. They find joy in simple things like puddles and butterflies and stories." Maggie paused to sip her tea. "Adults forget these lessons. We get caught up in worrying about the future or regretting the past." Emma thought about her life in London. She worked 12-hour days, worried constantly about promotions and client meetings, ate lunch at her desk, and fell asleep checking emails. When had she last noticed a butterfly or jumped in a puddle? Maggie continued watching the villagers pass by. "Are you going home to see family?" The question hit Emma like a physical blow. She felt tears welling up. She had not cried in months. In the city, showing emotion was seen as weakness. She had learned to keep everything locked away inside. "My grandmother," Emma said quietly. "We had a fight 3 years ago. I have not seen her since. Now she is very sick." The words felt strange coming out. She had not spoken about Gran to anyone in years. Her London friends knew nothing about her childhood, her village, or the woman who had raised her with such love. Maggie reached over and gently touched Emma's hand. Her skin was soft and warm, like Gran's hands used to be. Family fights are never really about what they seem to be about. "What do you mean?" "They are usually about love and fear. Fear of losing someone we care about." Emma had never thought about the fight this way. She had always seen it as Gran trying to control her life, trying to keep her small and limited. But what if Gran had been scared instead? Scared of being left alone. "My grandmother raised me after my parents died," Emma said. "She gave up everything for me. Worked 2 jobs to pay for my education, and then you grew up and wanted to leave." Maggie said gently, "Yes, I wanted to use my education, to have a career, to see the world beyond our village. Nothing wrong with that. But perhaps your grandmother saw it differently. Perhaps she saw it as losing you too, just like she lost your parents." Emma felt her heart breaking open. Gran had lost her own daughter, Emma's mother, in that terrible car accident, and then Emma. The only family Gran had left, had chosen to leave to dot. The train suddenly slowed down and came to a stop. The lights flickered. The conductor's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technical difficulties. We will be delayed for several hours." Other passengers groaned and complained. Someone shouted angrily. A baby began crying. But Emma found herself oddly grateful for the extra time with this wise stranger who was helping her see her life in a completely new way. As the hours passed, Emma and Maggie talked like old friends. The broken train had become a blessing in disguise. Round them, other passengers tried to sleep or complained about the delay. But Emma felt more awake than she had in years. Maggie shared stories about her students, about the joy of watching children grow and learn. Her voice was soft and musical, like someone used to reading bedtime stories and singing lullabies. "I remember one boy, James," Maggie said. "He was angry all the time. His parents had divorced, and he felt abandoned. He would sit in the back of my classroom, arms crossed, refusing to participate." Emma could picture the scene. A small boy trying to protect himself from more hurt by shutting everyone out. That must have been difficult to handle. Children act out when they are in pain. James would throw things, refuse to do his work, pick fights with other children. The headmaster wanted to send him away to a special school. "What did you do?" Emma asked. Maggie's eyes twinkled with memory. "I gave him small jobs, asked him to help me water the plants, clean the blackboard. I showed him that he mattered, that he belonged somewhere." Emma felt something stir in her chest. When had someone last made her feel like she truly mattered? In London. She was just another lawyer in a big firm. Replaceable. Forgettable. I would ask his opinion about things. Maggie continued. Which books should we read? How should we range? The classroom. Small things. But they made him feel important. Did it work? Slowly. Very slowly. It took almost a year before he smiled at me. But once he felt safe, once he knew I would not abandon him, he began to bloom like a flower in spring. Maggie paused to look out the window. In the darkness, Emma could see workers with flashlights trying to fix whatever was wrong with the train. He became a doctor. Comes to visit me every Christmas with his own children now. Maggie smiled warmly. His oldest daughter just started university. Wants to be a teacher. Like her old grandmother Maggie, Emma felt tears in her eyes. You changed his whole life. No, dear. I just showed him what was already there. The goodness, the intelligence, the loving heart. People need to know they're loved. Emma, even when they push us away. The words hit Emma like a gentle blow to the heart. She thought about her grandmother. How Gran had raised her after Emma's parents died in a car accident when she was 8. How Gran had worked jobs to pay for Emma's education. Emma remembered those early days after losing her parents. She had been angry too. Like Maggie's student James, she had screamed and cried and refused to eat. But Gran had been patient. Gran had held her through the nightmares and never gave up on her. My grandmother raised me, Emma said quietly. After my parents died, she sacrificed everything for me. Tell me about her. Maggie said gently. Emma found the words flowing like water from a broken dam. She worked at the village bakery during the day and cleaned offices at night. She was always tired, but she never complained. She helped me with my homework even though she had never finished school herself. She sounds like a remarkable woman. She was. I do not even know if she is still alive. Emma's voice broke. She made my lunches every day, came to every school play, saved money for my university fees. And I repaid her by walking away. And you felt guilty about leaving. Emma nodded, tears flowing freely now. She had not cried like this since she was a child. She wanted me to stay in the village, maybe teach at the local school, marry someone from town. But I wanted more. I wanted to see the world, have a career. In London, Emma's ambition was praised. She was the girl who had escaped her small town background and made something of herself. But sitting here with Maggie, she wondered if what she had gained was worth what she had lost. There is nothing wrong with wanting more. Maggie said gently, dreams are important. But maybe your grandmother was not angry about your dreams. Maybe she was afraid of losing you too. Emma had never thought about it that way. The fight had always seemed so clear in her memory. Gran was trying to control her. Gran did not support her dreams. But what if there was another side to the story? She lost her daughter, my mother. Maybe she was scared I would disappear from her life too. Exactly. Fear makes people say things they do not mean. Your grandmother probably supported your dreams but feared what achieving them would cost her. Love makes us do strange things sometimes, Maggie said. We try to hold on so tight that we push people away. Emma thought about her own behavior. Had she not done the same thing? Pushed Gran away because she was afraid of being held back. Built walls round her heart to avoid being hurt again. The train lights flickered as repair work continued outside. In the soft light, Emma saw Maggie, writing again in her notebook. Her pen moved gracefully across the page. What are you writing? Emma asked. I keep a journal of the people I meet. Everyone has a story worth remembering. Emma felt touched that she might become part of Maggie's collection of human stories in a world that often felt cold and disconnected. Here was someone who still believed every person mattered enough to be remembered. Near dawn, the train finally began moving again. Emma had dozed fitfully, her head resting against the cool window. The night had been long, but somehow healing. She felt different than when she had first boarded the train hours ago. She woke to find a folded piece of paper on her lap. For a moment, she was confused. Had she dropped something? Then she remembered Maggie writing in her notebook throughout the night. Emma opened the paper carefully. It was a beautiful sketch of her sleeping, drawn with skilled hands. Every line was perfect, capturing not just a face, but something deeper. In the drawing, she looked peaceful, almost happy. At the bottom, Maggie had written in her neat handwriting, "She carries love like light." Even when she cannot see it herself, Emma stared at the words, feeling tears come to her eyes again. But these were different tears, not the bitter tears of regret and pain, but something softer, something that felt like forgiveness. She looked at Maggie, who was watching the sunrise paint the sky pink and gold. The older woman's profile was serene, like someone who had found peace after a long journey. "This is beautiful," Emma whispered. "Thank you. I have been drawing fellow travelers for 60 years, Maggie said. "Everyone I meet teaches me something about life, about hope." Emma was amazed by this idea. 60 years of meeting strangers on trains and buses, in stations and cafes. 60 years of collecting human stories like precious jewels. It seemed like such a rich way to live. "What have I taught you?" Emma asked. Maggie turned to look at her with those wise, kind eyes. "That love is stronger than fear, that it is never too late to come home." Emma felt a deep peace settling in her heart. The anger and hurt she had carried for 3 years seemed to melt away like morning mist. She could see now that the fight with Gran had never really been about career choices or village life versus city life. It had been about two people who loved each other but were afraid of being hurt. Gran, afraid of being left alone like she was when Emma's parents died. Emma, afraid of being trapped and never becoming who she was meant to be. Both of them had been protecting their hearts, but in doing so, they had hurt each other deeply. "I was so stubborn," Emma said. "I thought Gran did not support my dreams. Perhaps she just expressed her love in the only way she knew how, by trying to keep you safe and close." Emma nodded, understanding flooding through her. Gran had never had the chances Emma had. Gran had married young, stayed in the village her whole life, worked hard jobs to survive. When Emma talked about law school and big cities and important careers, Gran probably felt scared and confused. Not because she did not want good things for Emma, but because she did not understand that world, and she was afraid that in reaching for those dreams, Emma would leave her behind forever. "I should have explained better," Emma said. "I should have shown her that having dreams did not mean I stopped loving her. And perhaps she should have trusted that her love was strong enough to let you go." Maggie said gently, "But we all do our best with what we know at the time." Outside the window, the countryside was waking up. Farmers were already in their fields. Smoke rose from cottage chimneys. Dogs barked in farmyards. It was the same landscape Emma had grown up with, but now it looked different. Not small or limiting, but peaceful and beautiful. The train pulled into Willowbrook station just as the sun cleared the hills. Emma could see the familiar platform, the old station building with its red brick and white trim, the flower boxes that the village ladies kept filled with colorful blooms. Her heart was beating fast, but not with dread anymore, with anticipation. With hope. Emma gathered her belongings, her laptop bag and purse feeling lighter than they had when she started this journey. Her heart was full of hope instead of fear. "Thank you, Maggie, for everything. You have given me such a gift. The gift was not just the beautiful drawing, though Emma would treasure that always. The real gift was the understanding, the forgiveness, the courage to go home with an open heart. Maggie smiled, and her whole face lit up. The gift was yours to give, dear one. You just needed to remember how to unwrap it. Emma hugged the elderly woman gently. Maggie felt small and fragile in her arms, but also somehow strong, like someone who had weathered many storms and learned to find beauty in every season. "Will I see you again?" Emma asked. Love has a way of bringing people together when they need each other most. Maggie said mysteriously. Emma stepped off the train, her feet touching the familiar platform of home. The morning air smelled of flowers and fresh bread from the village bakery where Gran used to work. She turned to wave goodbye through the train window. But when she looked back, the window was empty. Maggie was no longer visible. The train began to move, carrying its mysterious passenger toward whatever destination awaited her. Emma stood on the platform, clutching the drawing to her chest, feeling grateful and amazed. She had boarded the train as a successful but lonely lawyer running from her past. She was leaving it as a daughter ready to come home. Emma ran from the station to the village hospital, her heart pounding with anticipation rather than dread. The morning sun felt warm on her face as she hurried through the familiar streets of Willowbrook. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, but also more precious. The hospital was a small building on the edge of town. Emma had been born here 31 years ago. Now she might be coming to say goodbye to the woman who had raised her with such love and sacrifice. She found her grandmother's room and paused at the door. Her hand shook as she reached for the handle. What if Gran was angry with her? What if 3 years of silence had built walls too high to climb over? Emma pushed open the door softly. Gran lay in the hospital bed, looking small and frail under the white sheets. Her silver hair was spread across the pillow like a halo. She had lost weight, and her skin looked pale and thin. But when Gran saw Emma, her eyes lit up like stars. The same blue eyes that had watched over Emma through childhood nightmares and teenage heartbreaks. "My darling girl," Gran whispered, her voice weak but full of joy. "You came home." Emma rushed to her bedside and took her grandmother's weathered hands. They felt so fragile, like bird bones. These were the hands that had braided Emma's hair, packed her school lunches, and held her when she cried. "I am so sorry, Gran. I should have come sooner. I should have called. I should have written letters. I have been such a foolish, stubborn girl." Tears streamed down Emma's face. All the words she had been holding back for 3 years came pouring out. "No, child. I am the one who should apologize." Gran's voice was soft but clear. "I was afraid of losing you, so I tried to make you stay. But you were meant to fly. You were meant to see the world and use the gifts God gave you." They cried together, healing 3 years of silence with tears and forgiveness. The hurt and anger melted away like ice in spring sunshine. They held each other as they had not done since Emma was a child. Emma spent the next 2 weeks at Gran's bedside. She took leave from her job in London and rarely left the hospital. They talked about everything: Emma's work, her dreams, her loneliness in the big city. "I have a nice flat and a good salary," Emma told her grandmother, "but I eat dinner alone every night. I work with people all day, but have no real friends. Success is not what I thought it would be." Gran shared stories about Emma's mother that Emma had never heard before, about how brave her mother had been, how she had dreamed of traveling the world too, about love and loss and the courage to keep going even when life breaks your heart. "Your mother would be so proud of you," Gran said one evening as the sunset painted the hospital room golden. "You have her brave heart and her kind spirit. She always wanted to make a difference in the world." Did she ever regret staying in the village? Emma asked. Never. She said home is not a place that limits you. Home is the people who love you no matter where you go or what you do. She would have supported your dreams completely. Emma wished she could have known her mother as an adult, but through Gran's stories, she began to understand that love does not require understanding everything. It just requires trust. Gran passed peacefully on a sunny Tuesday morning. Holding Emma's hand, she slipped away as quietly as she had lived, surrounded by the love she had given so freely all her life. At the funeral, the whole village came to pay their respects. Emma was amazed by how many people had stories to tell about her grandmother's kindness. The baker remembered how Gran had worked extra hours without complaint. The school teacher talked about Gran volunteering to help children with reading. The postman shared how Gran always had tea ready for him on cold winter days. Emma realized how many lives her grandmother had touched through simple acts of love and service. Gran had never traveled the world or had an important career, but she had made a real difference in her small corner of the earth. A month later, Emma returned to the train station. She had made a big decision. She was leaving her law firm to teach at the village school. She wanted to make a difference in children's lives, the way Maggie had described. The village needed a new teacher, and Emma found herself excited about the challenge. She could use her education and intelligence in a different way, helping young minds grow and learn. At the station, Emma asked the station master about Maggie, describing the elderly woman who had sat next to her on that life-changing night journey. The station master looked puzzled. He was an older man who had worked at the station for 20 years and knew every regular passenger. No one matching that description rode the train that night. He said, checking his records carefully, "According to our passenger list, you sat alone. The seat next to you was empty all the way to Willowbrook." Emma smiled through her tears. She understood now. Sometimes angels come disguised as ordinary people, appearing exactly when we need them most. Sometimes the help we need comes in mysterious ways. She kept Maggie's sketch framed on her desk at the village school. It reminded her daily that love never really dies. It just changes form. And that sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones that bring us home to who we were always meant to be. The end.